Hi, welcome to Losing Faith, Finding Spirit. We are talking about relationship red flags, things to look out for to identify narcissistic, toxic, and emotionally abusive relationships and how to avoid them in the future. Today's topic is going to be victim, martyr. The person that you're with, do they seem like they can't take responsibility for their actions? They've always got some excuse. They've always got someone else to blame. It's never their fault. They can't own up to their actions and do things about it on their own. This is a big sign. This is very common among covert and vulnerable narcissists. They like to play the martyr, which means that they're the ones who are always being, victimized, and it's never anybody else's. It's never their fault. It's everyone else's fault. My father used to say this all the time about my mom and how she's trying to make him into the bad guy. Um, it's really sad. It's pitiful when you think about it. The people who get involved in this and the people who feel this way tend to have a lot of trauma in their childhood or early in their lives. Everything that they're doing, the abuse, everything they're doing is a coping mechanism to keep them from feeling and admitting that they have done wrong or that they are responsible for their own self-healing. We've all got trauma. I don't think there's a single person in this world who's had a perfect life. I would love to meet them and give them a big hug or get a hug from them, because I feel like, give me some of your good fortune. Almost everyone has suffered through something. That is part of living, is suffering. And the difference between somebody who's a healer, a self-healer, like if you're listening to this channel, I think you're probably a self-healer. You're trying to get a hold and figure things out so that you can make better choices and have a better, more peaceful life. The difference between you and the abuser is that the abuser cannot allow themselves to feel responsible. They cannot be responsible for their actions, because the minute that they take on that responsibility, the minute they have that empathy and realize their wrongs and that they're treating people bad and that this is not the way to live, this is not how you treat people. The minute they realize that, that means they have to change. They have to admit to themselves that what they are doing is abusive. And these people cannot do that. Toxic, narcissistic abusers do not know how to take and own up to their own responsibilities. They cannot. They are trapped in this system and this immaturity that makes it very hard for them to see how their actions and their life affects the world around them. They are trapped in their own little bubble and in their own little ego, and they cannot see outside of that. All they see is themselves. They are so big in their mind that they can't see anyone else. And that's what narcissism the true narcissists, like the real overt narcissists or grandiose narcissists, are the ones that are so big in their mind that they think that they're above everybody else. And that they can't see anybody else because they're so much bigger. And that ginormous ego, that being so big in their own mind, is to protect from that fragility of that trauma and that innocent child that had been abused, early on, for whatever it was. It could be neglect, could be different things. And they can't allow themselves to see themselves as something bad, because being a bad person breaks and proves that they are not as big as they've put their mind to be. They are not this grandiose person. They have to take responsibility. They have to change their actions. They have to consider other people. They have to look outside of themselves. They are part of a bigger system. They are playing a role, and they need to pay attention to how they interact with others, because their actions can hurt, harm, or bring joy to other people. But a narcissist, an abusive person, toxic people can't do that. They cannot see outside of themselves. So, and no matter what you do, no matter how much you cry, no matter how much you beg, no matter how much you plead, no matter how many, sessions you go to, you cannot change this person. You can't make them see outside of themselves because they cannot do that. Their coping mechanism blocks them from being able to do that. And the sooner you acknowledge that, the easier it is for you to watch the patterns and see the signs and detangle yourself from them. It's not easy, but it starts to get easier once you realize that nothing you do will change that person, and that there's something inside of them that they have to figure out on their own. And what separates an abuser from somebody who is working towards their healing is that you are doing the actions to work towards your healing. There are true victims. The covert, vulnerable narcissist will say they're a victim. And it's not that they're wrong. There could be some truth to what they've experienced. But the difference is, are they making changes? Are they doing the work? Are they acknowledging how their actions, how their history, how their trauma makes them do those things? And are they trying to break those patterns? If they are not trying to break those patterns and get out and stop being a victim, they are going to continue to blame you. They will not take responsibility. They will not change. And I wanted to point that out because in my own journey, during the self-blame and the justification of my ex, I spent so much time, so much energy explaining away his abuse, explaining away the way he treated me, explaining away the fights, explaining it away. Now, once I finally started to really do the work inside myself, once I stopped trying to look at him and fix him, and once I started working on me and fixing me, it started to become more clear that if I could do this, if I can look and be like, my childhood foundation is a mess, and it makes me move towards codependent tendencies in relationships. Here's all the stuff I need to work on to heal that past. These really bad things that were said and done in my life, I need to address, I need to heal them, and I'm going to start doing the work. When I started doing that, that power that he had over me broke. He didn't want me to go to therapy. He hated it. He didn't want me to go to therapy. He didn't want me to get help. He didn't want me to heal. He wanted me to stay small because on some level, I'm sure he knew that as soon as I got healed, as soon as I started working on myself, as soon as I started healing and getting confident, and I'm not putting up with that. I'm not going to put up with the abuse. No healthy person puts up with abuse. Nobody wants to do that. But it started with me working on me. And I couldn't heal him. To this day, there's nothing I can do. I can just recognize the patterns and try to be aware and prevent it from affecting me, from making it personal, and be aware going forward in future relationships. Because I know now this is what I tend to be attracted to. These are the things that are my weaknesses. So I need to be mindful. I need to keep an eye on these red flags we're talking about, and not let, and catch them early, not let myself get into another abusive relationship, because unfortunately I now know that I am predisposed to abusive relationships because of the trauma in my childhood. Being aware of that and accepting that, and just accepting it without blaming, without feeling shame, without feeling, remorse about that, just accepting that that's a fact. This is a true fact, is so powerful. It has been so powerful, so healing, I can let things go. I can let things go. And I couldn't do that before. And I don't know how to explain that. It's like just something changed inside that allows me to let go of all of this nonsense in a way that I couldn't before. And I think the biggest part of that is realizing that there was nothing I could do to fix and change this other person. And seeing that they are a victim who refuses to acknowledge the trauma, because if they acknowledge how bad it was, my dad's the same way. He refuses to acknowledge how bad his childhood was. And it's extremely obvious now to me, seeing the grown-ups, like his siblings and him, just how messed up their childhood was. And my ex as well. And I would use that as an excuse. Oh, he had a messed up childhood. He just doesn't know how to love, right? I mean, I sympathized with a lot of villains growing up because my own childhood, my own family system was that. The Phantom of the Opera, the Goblin King from the Labyrinth, like I've sympathized with them. They don't know how to love because they grew up, the Goblin King grew up with a bunch of goblins. The way that the goblins express their love is probably not the way that humans do. Not healthy. They're goblins, you know? The way that the Phantom of the Opera expressed his love is because he was abused and tormented because of his, deformity. And so he's showing love the best way he can, and so you forgive and you let go and you make up excuses. And then you end up in that abusive cycle. And then you realize now watching those movies, I'm like, oh, that's not okay. That's really uncomfortable. Wow. That Phantom was trying to like straight up control that girl, Christine. He trying to control Christine, manipulate her. He was going to take her, steal her away, kidnap her. He killed people. He killed people. That's not healthy. This is just fiction, but real life for real. We make so many concessions and forgiveness, and we are taught forgiveness is so highly valued in our society. And I'm going to tell you right now, you don't have to forgive nobody. You don't have to. You can heal without forgiving people. And I'm telling you, you don't have to forgive. You will let it go in your own time when you're healing. Eventually that anger, eventually that remorse, eventually the pain that you feel when you think of those things that happen to you will lessen. You don't have to let it go. You don't have to forgive. It'll come when it's ready. You will let it go naturally when you are ready. You don't have to force it. I think that forcing forgiveness, forcing healing is not the way. That actually makes it worse. It leaves scars and damage that doesn't need to be there. Red flag. Is your person playing victim or martyr? And are they not taking responsibility for their own healing? If you notice that somebody in your life is not taking responsibility for their own healing, they're not being responsible for their own actions. When they hurt people, they may say sorry, but they don't do anything different. Their actions will tell you their true intent. And if somebody refuses to change and refuses to get help, refuses to do the work to be a better person, it's not worth your time. It's not worth your effort. It's not worth your energy. It is best to end that relationship and move on with your life. Everyone has issues, but everybody can work and become better. Think of yourself. You're not wallowing in your issues. You're not letting that make you an abusive person. Why are they? Why are they abusing you? You don't need that. That's not up to you. You can't change them. You can't heal them. You can't fix them. Your love is not enough to fix them. They have to love themselves. They have to love you. They have to love to get their healing. You can't reach into that and fix that. And I know that's disappointing. I know it's hard. It took me a long time to get to a point where I could accept that myself. So I know that that's one of the hardest things to really just accept, is that you can't change somebody. You can't heal them or fix them. But I know that you are worth it. There's healthy things out there. Healthy people exist. Other people on self-helping journeys, healing journeys. Find somebody who's doing the work. You don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be perfect. But if they're doing the work and they're making the changes and they're sticking to it, that's a good thing. That's a real good thing. But don't bother with people who won't. Hope this helps. Thanks for listening. Bye.